Hello, this is Meghnad and you're watching Sansad Watch, where we tell you what the leaders you elected have been doing for you, like protecting your gods. But wait, why do they need to protect all-powerful gods? I mean, gods don't vote, they aren't citizens, plus they have superpowers like being present everywhere, ability to fly, curse, resurrect, and make deals with nature. This is the wrong question. Okay, Jude, let's retake, please. Okay. Hello, this is Meghnad and you're watching Sansad Watch, where we tell you what the leaders you elected have been doing for you. Like protecting citizens from other angry citizens who are upset because their gods have been insulted. Or punishing citizens on behalf of other angry citizens who are upset because their gods have been insulted. Like these two.
The BJP has suspended a party spokesperson Nupur Sharma and Naveen Jindal, who is in charge of BJP media, from the party's primary membership.
Mumbai police has now summoned Nupur Sharma, asking her to appear before the police station.
He has been asked to appear before the police on June 15th.
So far, 100 plus people have been arrested from the places that saw violence across Uttar Pradesh.
Now, a Kuwaiti supermarket has pulled Indian products down from its shelves, even as Iran became the latest Middle Eastern country to summon the Indian ambassador.
In other words, today we are going to dive deep into the world of blasphemy. Blasphemy is the action or offense of speaking sacrilegiously about God or sacred things. To understand blasphemy here in India, we need to go back in history a bit. The year is 1926. India is being ruled by the Great British Empire, and they are making laws to mostly oppress the native population, steal their shit, and exploit all resources present on the subcontinent. Tum sala gulam log hamari juti ke niche hi rahega. In Amritsar, a journalist and publisher called Mahashay Rajpal published a small 58-page book called Rangila Rasool. It was a satirical take on the life and times of Prophet Muhammad, openly making fun of his sexual life. This was considered a violent attack over the religious sentiments of the Muslim community and led to riots in Punjab. The Punjab government decided to stop the distribution of this book and filed charges against Rajpal. But Justice Dali Singh of the Punjab High Court acquitted Rajpal. Twice, because at that time there was no law which punished people for outraging religious feelings. So the British were like, given how we do divide and rule to subjugate this bunch, we need a law that will let us do that but also not let them kill each other over gods. You know what they say back in the Shire? The only bad slave is a dead slave. So, they amended the Indian Penal Code in 1927 and introduced Section 295A. Wait, before we get to the law, I want to read out what M.K. Gandhi said about this controversial book, Rangila Rasool. I have asked myself what the motive possibly could be in writing or printing such a book except to inflame passion. Abuse and caricature of the Prophet cannot wean a Mussalman from his faith, and it can do no good to a Hindu who may have doubts about his own belief. As a contribution, therefore, to the religious propaganda work, it has no value whatsoever. Yeah, Gandhiji was upset with the publication too and called it a work of terrible religious propaganda. Just like some of our TV media.
फलों पर थूक रहे हैं, सब्जियों में थूक रहे हैं, ब्रेड पर थूक रहे हैं, पानी में थूक रहे हैं, खाने में थूक रहे हैं, नान में थूक रहे हैं, रोटी में थूक रहे हैं, बिरयानी में थूक रहे हैं। ये थूक जिहाद है क्या?
ऐसे कई कारीगर पकड़े जा चुके हैं। ये थूथू गैंग के कारीगर हैं या गिरफ्तार हो चुके हैं जो खाने में थूकते हुए पकड़े जा चुके हैं। ये देखिए।
If you want to see TV news do more of this, then watch them more because they are all ad funded. But if you want good stuff like this, if you want actual solid research like this, then subscribe to News Laundry by going to newslaundry.com and pressing the subscribe button and paying to keep news free. Now, Section 295A of the IPC says this: whoever with deliberate and malicious intention of outraging the religious feelings of any class of citizens of India by words either spoken or written or by signs or by visible representations or otherwise insults or attempts to insult the religion or the religious beliefs of that class shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 3 years or with a fine or with both. Now that looks like a blasphemy law, only that the word blasphemy is not used outrightly. There's a reason for that too. Let me take you back in time again to 1927, when this section was added to the Indian Penal Code. A debate was held in the Legislative Assembly in Delhi after Mahashay Rajpal was set free by the court. Here's what happened. This is the Legislative Assembly debates from the year 1927. Here is what Mr. Hari Singh Gaur says. I suggest that if you really wish to suppress blasphemy, by all means do so. But say that you are enacting against blasphemy. Do not do it in the indirect and inferential way in which you are trying to do in this bill. Guys, this is a 1927 ka text, so if you can't read it, it's not my fault, it's the technology's fault. Next up, we have M.R. Jaikar. He says, in regard, this is an offense against state and it ought to be classed under the chapter of the Penal Code where other offenses against the state are mentioned. I regard it not as an offense against religion. I submit that this offense should be regarded as an offense against the state, like section 153A and 124A. We'll come back to this one. 1 second, pause. I need to explain this a bit properly. Okay, it works something like this. Let's say this is a religion. I mean, it's a random symbol. And this is the person insulting the religion. And these are followers of the religion who are getting upset at this guy. But all of this is a part of the state. So what Mr. Jaikar is saying is that this guy is not causing damage to this one or this one. He is actually causing damage to the state. Not the religion, the state. In short, the law we have, which is supposed to technically deal with blasphemy, is doing so by not mentioning blasphemy. Yeah. And there were some advocates of free speech who just did not want the law at all. Take a look. Next up, we have some free speech advocate. The first one we are looking at is Pandit Thakur Das Bhargav. He says, it is not that I am not at one with those who have spoken so far in condemning that sort of feeling which has given rise to the present impasse between Hindus and Mohammedans. All the same, sir, I believe it is the prophets, the avatars and the great men who are very potent powers for good, whose lives should be criticized freely. Last but not the least, we have Ram Narayan Singh. He says, in these days, whenever two people start fighting, of whom one is a Hindu and another is a Mohammedan, if the Mohammedan is beaten, the religious feelings of all Mohammedans are wounded. And when the Hindu is beaten, the religious feelings of all Hindus are wounded. How are we to protect such religious tenderness? Religious tenderness. That last one takes the cake, provided that me eating cake doesn't hurt any dietary sentiments. That's a thing also, right? Anyway, now how often is this section 295A used in India? There is no official data on this, but we noticed something. In the recent 10 cases where 295 was charged, another section appeared, 153A. In fact, in this 1927 Legislative Assembly debate, two members, Abdul Hai and Mr. Jaikar, who we read earlier, mentioned that these two sections go hand in hand. 153A is a section about punishing people who promote enmity between different groups on grounds of religion, race, place of birth, residence, language, etc., and doing acts prejudicial to the maintenance of harmony. So 153A is like 295A's cousin and likes to ghusedify itself into every family Diwali photo or wedding photos. Take your pick. We checked 10 recent cases of hurt religious sentiments in the news and found that both of these sections do go hand in hand. Atikur Rahman, check. Nupur Sharma, check. Wasim Rizvi aka Jitendra Narayan Singh Tyagi because he converted, check. Dude who abused Bapu Gandhi, check. Dude who forwarded a Muslim hating WhatsApp message, check. There are many more like these. And guess what? There is data for the cousin, 153A. I have it. We start from 2014 when the cases were 323. And then as we come to 2020, it has gone up all the way to 1804. There was a massive spike between 2016 and 2017 and then 2019 and 2020. Look at this. Next, we have state-wise section 153A cases. The blue one is from 2015 to 2017 and the yellow one is from 2018 to 2020. Look what it looks like. Tamil Nadu is the highest. So between 2015 and 2020, the cases went up from 46 to 189. And Uttar Pradesh is the second highest, interestingly enough, from 97 to 152. Andhra Pradesh 32 to 115. Assam 14 to 113. And there are other places like Gujarat, Rajasthan, Kerala, Telangana where all of it has gone up. But there are some states where it has actually gone down. For example, Bihar 11 to 9. West Bengal 37 to 31. Next, look at this. This is the section 153A effectiveness chart. The case of charge sheeting rate is 27%. Pendency rate is 64.3% and conviction rate is just 20%. Pendency rate, conviction rate, charge sheeting rate. So, suffice to say that these two laws about protecting tender religious feelings are applied quite liberally, but the conviction rates are kind of sad. British colonizer friends must be proud today for giving us these wonderful laws. You know which other countries are also proud of their blasphemy laws? These bunch. Yeah, when I tell you about how they deal with religion hurters in these countries, you'll be like, so it's not that bad in India actually. Let's start with our friendly neighborhood Pakistan. They have 295A as well, but they take it way more seriously than us. Blasphemy laws carry the death penalty or life in prison, assuming you haven't already been lynched and your murderer has been showered in petals in court. In 2021, Salma Tanveer was sentenced to death for insulting Prophet Muhammad. A Christian woman, Aisa Bibi, was sentenced to death when she had an argument with co-workers about the Prophet. She spent 9 years in jail before being released, which led to more violence by religious nuts. Mashal Khan, a 23-year-old student, was accused of writing a derogatory post on social media. He was lynched to death by a mob. Investigations later concluded that the accusations against him were unfounded. Last year, an 8-year-old Hindu boy was arrested for blasphemy after he was accused of urinating on the carpet of a library in a madrasa. It's bad. Okay, next up, let's look at Indonesia. Article 156A of the country's criminal code punishes disseminating information aimed at inciting religious hatred or hostility with up to 5 years in prison. In 2012, a civil servant Alexander Ahn made a Facebook post saying that he is renouncing Islam and becoming an atheist. He was thrown in jail for more than 2 years. A Christian and Muslim preacher were arrested under blasphemy laws in 2021. The Christian man was arrested for replacing the word Allah with Jesus in the Islamic oath. The Muslim man was arrested for allegedly saying that the Bible is fake. Here in Indonesia, they seem to have secular blasphemy, it seems. Moving on to Iran, they have Article 513, which gives death penalty to any person who insults the sacred values of Islam or any of the great prophets or the Imams or the Holy Fatima. They also have Article 262, which gives death penalty to anyone who curses at the Holy Prophet. In 2014, an Iranian blogger Sohail Arabi was sentenced to death for insulting the Prophet on Facebook. His death sentence was commuted in 2015, but he is still in jail. In the same year, a former psychologist Mohsen Amir Aslani was hanged in a prison near Tehran for corruption on earth and heresy in religion, including insulting the prophet Jonah. Okay, there are a bunch of countries with extreme blasphemy laws. What we have done is we have listed them out with most recent cases, most horrific cases. And if you want to read about them, go to the link below. It will redirect you to our website and you can read. But long story short, we should stop pretending that we are competing with the US, China, or any other country as an economic or industrial powerhouse. This is our real competition on how many citizens we can prosecute over primitive concepts. This is also called all of these countries I just mentioned were also in the news recently for doing a boycott of Indian products after BJP spokesperson and newly minted fringe element Nupur Sharma went on Times Now to offend Muslims. Now, you know why they reacted in these extreme ways, asking the Indian government to take strict action against Nupur. It's because in their country, it's most likely that someone like Nupur would be either put to death, whipped in public, or jailed. In 2019, a Pew report found that 40% countries in the world still have blasphemy laws. These laws were most common in the Middle East and North Africa. 18 of the 20 countries, which is 90% in these regions, have laws criminalizing blasphemy. In India, we are seeing a trend where fringe organizations like Vishwa Hindu Parishad are calling for a stricter blasphemy law. I should mention this demand came up again after the Nupur controversy. But here, VHP obviously wanted the other panelist punished who insulted the shivling, not Nupur. No. Let's just hope better sense prevails and our elected leaders decide that we don't need to go down the terrible path that the other countries have gone down on. That's all I have for you in this week's Sansad Watch. If you have people on your WhatsApp groups pointing out how bad things are in Islamic countries when it comes to blasphemy, tell them, you are right! Yes, they are bad! And share this episode so that they have the correct facts, not just random whataboutery. Because remember, if you want to make Parliament great again, and if you want to make our leaders behave, you need to watch it first. Thank you so much for watching this episode, guys. I hope you liked it and I hope you do WhatsApp forward it to people who do a lot of WhatsApp forwards. Also, there is another angle to this, which is an economic angle. Why are Middle Eastern countries important economically for India? And what has Adarniya Modi ji, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, done in these countries which actually strengthened our relationships? Because he has worked for years to strengthen our relationship with Islamic countries. I have another video for you. It's here, somewhere. It will be linked here or in the description. Watch that. It will tell you all about this other angle about why this controversy happened and why the government reacted the way it did. And please pay to keep news free because इस week हमने genuinely बहुत ज़्यादा पढ़ाई की है.
The subscription model is something that keeps News Laundry afloat, but we need hundreds of thousands of people to completely transform the news ecosystem. So you pay for news, so it serves you. So click on the link with this video, subscribe to News Laundry and pay to keep news free और गर्व से कहो मेरे खर्च पर आज़ाद है खबरें.